7, 8 years now.
You just figuring this out now? Like?
Oh no. Well, welcome everyone to another. Are you recording?
I think so.
Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Chuck.
My name is Lee.
My name is Will.
And today we have a special guest.
We have a guest. Yeah, okay.
We have a guest.
Stop. What, you can't say special guest?
Stop. Guest. Special guest. Go, Sarah.
Hi. Yes, I'm a guest, and apparently I'm special, and I'm so glad to be here. So, yay. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Well, before
Thanks
we go.
for coming back.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
She was here with us last year for Die Hard 1, and now we are doing Die Hard 2.
Another Christmas movie.
Yet another Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to put a plug in too. Sarah is one of our patrons, and with that, she gets to join us live. But also, Sarah also has her own blog called Forged in Film. So before we go, Sarah, do you want to share a little bit about who you are, what you do with Forged in Film? We can kind of go from there.
Yeah, totally. So I got the idea for my blog about a year and a half ago. I mean, I've always loved movies. I love talking about movies, movie trivia, how movies are made. But one of the things that I've really enjoyed doing is finding out the deeper meaning of movies, and more specifically, what God shows me in movies. Because I believe that he does that because he is creative and likes to speak to people personally in ways that they will understand. And I don't believe that that is limited to quote unquote Christian movies, as in movies made by Christian film studios. I believe that he talks to people through every kind of movie. And so like things like Braveheart and Superman and Lord of the Rings and Red Dawn and Goonies and, you know, all kinds of stuff. So I've been...
Superman.
Yes, I just did one back in July. It was fantastic.
And
I did a
Superman.
blog post.
Just keep saying "and Superman" and Superman.
So
I get ragged on for him being my favorite superhero on this podcast.
Superman's great. No, I love Superman. Yeah, Christopher Reeve. He's my jam.
Yeah. Continue. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah. Anyways, so I have my blog where I just have a very, like, I will admit a lot of the movies are from the 80s because that is when I grew up. I'm a Gen Xer, and a lot of the movies that really spoke to me and mean something were from at that point in my life when I was growing up. So but I've only been doing it for a year and a half, so you know that certainly could expand a bit. But so I have been, I think I've got about 25 entries on there. It's been since July of 2022, so I've got several entries on there. And it's just I just share what I feel God is speaking to me through the movie, my opinion. I'm certainly open to hearing what other people have to say, and if they picked up on anything else that I didn't, or if they disagree with me on anything. You know, again, it's just what I feel like is being shown to me. And one of my favorite things is when somebody reads one of my blog entries and then they're like, oh my gosh, I never saw that before. I never even noticed that. Now I have to go back and watch the movie again, which is always a big thrill for me to hear. I love it when I hear people say that. So yeah, so I do that, and it's really been a lot of fun. I really enjoy doing it. One of these days, I am going to turn it into like a movie devotional, like in print, like a book form. But I've had some other book projects that I have been working on that I've been focusing more of my attention on. But that is my goal, to do that at some point. Cool. And it's also given me a really great opportunity to collaborate with lots of different kinds of people. My friend Paul does a podcast called Men at the Movies that I've been on several times. I think I want to say about 10 times now. We just recently did a podcast episode on Red Dawn. We're doing another one right after Christmas on 8-Bit Christmas.
Red Dawn.
The original Red Dawn. The only one.
She also just mentioned 8-Bit Christmas, which I brought up to you guys.
8-Bit Christmas,
which
I
think we, as you know, enjoying games and retro games and stuff like that would appreciate.
Oh,
big time.
it's such a good movie.
It really is good. It's like a Christmas story, but
In the 80s.
centered around Nintendo as opposed to a Red Ryder,
Sweet.
BB gun.
Yeah.
A Red Ryder BB gun.
Yeah.
Is it not Red Ryder?
No, it was Red Ryder.
It's a Red Ryder BB gun.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What did you think it was?
Oh.
How do people find you online?
They
Where can they go?
Yeah, my blog is forgedinfilm.org. Or you can find me on Facebook. I have a Facebook group, Forged in Film, which is very active. I post weekly, so I do movie trailer Mondays and trivia Tuesdays and wordy Wednesdays and a lot of fellowship and film Fridays. When I collaborate with other people, I'll post about those on Fridays, and I have a lot of fun doing little trivia contests and people chatting about movies and what they like and stuff. So you can definitely find me on there.
What's an example of a trivia contest? Like, what would be a question you would ask people that if they would know?
Well, like for instance, back over the summer, I did this little celebration of my 1-year anniversary of having a blog. And so I posted 3 times a day for a week and was giving away Amazon gift cards at the end of the day for the, just like I would randomly pick a name. But I had trivia questions where it would be like, what movie did Julie Andrews win an Academy Award for? Or
Sound of Music.
Yeah. Actually, no.
What?
Mm-mm.
No.
Not an Academy Award. No.
Not for Sounds of
know?
Music.
It wasn't Sound of Music.
It wasn't Sound of Music?
No.
It's still not the Sound of Music.
Peter Pan.
No.
That was not her, was it? Was she Peter Pan?
She was
No, that was
No.
Mary Martin.
Exactly. It was somebody else with short hair.
somebody else.
I mean,
with short hair.
Yeah.
It was Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins was my next
won,
guess.
Yeah, she
Mm.
won the Academy Award for Mary
Sherry
Poppins.
Bobbins.
Ironically, she took the Academy Award away from Audrey Hepburn, who was in My Fair Lady, which is what Julie
Oh.
Andrews did on Broadway.
Right.
And they didn't cast her in the movie because they didn't think that she would translate well from stage to screen. And then she went and won the Academy Award.
And became a huge actress.
Yes,
That's
Funny.
awesome. Yeah.
My
it was pretty
my
awesome.
family and I watched the first 15 minutes of when she hosted the Muppet Show last
Oh my
night.
gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't she on My Best Friend's Wedding?
No.
Or Hook?
No.
No.
Wow.
She wasn't.
Hook.
It's another woman with short hair.
So anyways,
that was Sandra Bullock, right?
No.
This is how Lee and I typically go through, a conversation about movies. I'll generally or typically give like the wrong actor in the wrong movie on purpose. But
okay.
I'm serious. Julia Roberts was in The Proposal, right?
Oh my gosh. How do you do that? That would make me want to punch Chuck in the face.
No,
after a
usually
while.
we go back and forth, but I'm
No, I'm
still-
sorry. I get super competitive about movie trivia, so I tend to get a little bit overboard.
No, it's fine. Get overboard. Go for it.
Russell.
Do whatever you
Hold
want
on.
to.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank
Thanks for returning for our next Die Hard viewing.
Yeah.
So before we go too
So
far
if you,
about Die
I
Hard,
wanna say one thing. If you want to go ahead and get me all those links, I will put them in the description of this on the
Yeah.
YouTubes, on the podcast feed, and everywhere else, so they will be able to find you a lot easier. I will
Sweet.
gladly do that for you.
Yeah, text them to me too. I'll put them on social media for you as well too.
Yes, I would love that. That would be great.
No problem.
so I was gonna say, so last year, I think you were the only one here who actually went to the theaters to see Violent Night. Oh no, you did too.
Yes.
I saw Violent Night.
So-
Violet Night was
So-
awesome.
Fantastic.
So we just talked about
It's
Violent
awesome.
Night, which I think that is up online now.
Coming
or
out
will
this
be
week.
soon.
This
Coming
week.
out this week, but
Coming out
I
this week.
said that.
Well, you
okay.
gotta get up
This
and do
week
it all
that
over
we're
again.
this
So is it
week
coming
that
out
we
this
are
week?
recording
Yeah,
2 weeks ago from when people are listening to
exactly.
this.
So my point is, we did this, but yes, okay. So it is out, our discussion about Violent Night. So
There you go.
while we're still talking about that, Sarah, why don't you tell us about your experience with Violent Night and the company that you brought with you?
Okay.
Wait a minute, you brought somebody with you?
Yes. Yes. So okay, so I seem to, if I'm remembering correctly, Violent Night came out. I think it was like maybe the second week in December or something last year. And I was in a super stressful spot by the time that it came out, just because, Christmas, buying gifts, wrapping gifts, cooking, baking, shipping Christmas cards, like our church events, just I was stressed to the max. And I was just like I was starting to have like mental not good mental health. So I saw this movie and it looked kind of funny. And so I had my roommate Diane and our friend Marie go to the movies with us.
What a crew.
So we go to Chunky's, which is the cinema pub over in Pelham, and it's like my favorite go-to place, for movies. If anybody is a fan of the Alamo Draft House, Chunky's is like the ugly redheaded stepchild of the Alamo Draft House. It's like Kmart is to Target, Chunky's is to Alamo Draft House.
Chunky's is still around.
I love Chunky's. Okay, but I don't know. It's just my happy place. So anyway, so we went there and, we're just like, oh my gosh, let's just forget the world and just watch this movie for a while. So we're watching this movie. And it's not just a clever title because it is so violent.
It's amazingly violent.
It's like horror movie violent.
It's fantastic. The movie is awesome.
And it's like this awful combination of like Die Hard and Home Alone. And
Meets
we're
Thor.
watching it.
Can't forget about Thor.
And Thor, yeah. Santa with his big badass hammer. Oh my gosh. So we're watching this, and the first time some major act of violence happens, I just bust out laughing. And Diane's looking at me in horror and at the screen, just like, oh, I can't even believe that just happened and stuff. And Marie is laughing. And then it just, like, the violence just kept getting worse and worse. And Marie and I are in tears.
Okay, so when you say worse and worse, you actually mean better and better.
It was getting more and more violent. Let's just put it that way. The violence was getting more intense. There was a lot more injuries happening.
The image of that guy falling on the ladder and the nail going through his jaw is imprinted on my brain. It's never going anywhere. It was amazing.
Oh, no.
Well, okay, so I
the
mean,
image of the bowling ball hitting the nail into his forehead is never leaving
the
my
fact that he
brain.
sat there for 30 seconds
Yes.
staring at it like a dummy, that was a total Marv moment.
100%.
So Diane just kept getting more and more horrified, and Marie and I just kept laughing harder and harder. And I'm telling you, it was just like the best stress release ever, just watching all of these people get completely and totally like destroyed.
Yeah, I offered to bring my wife out and to see a movie. We're gonna see Avatar 2, and she goes, "Let's go watch Violent Night."
Did you tell her? Like,
I'm like, "Are you sure you want?" I haven't seen it yet. This was our first.
okay.
This was both of us our first time watching it, and I'm like, "Are you sure it's rated R? It's called Violent Night." I watched the preview. I'm like, "I'm not sure you're gonna enjoy this." She's like, "Yeah, we'll watch it."
What did you think it was?
I don't know. And we left the theater, and I was like, "That was amazing." And her words were, "That was the worst movie I've ever seen."
Oh no, I've seen.
It
much
wasn't worse than
movies
torture.
than
It
that.
was not worse than torture.
Oh, so our podcast is still worse than
Our
Violent
podcast is still worse than Violent Night. I talked to my daughters too. I'm like, "So
You're never.
do
allowed
you
to
guys
see this
follow
movie.
us?" And she's like, "This is my oldest daughter." She's like, "A little bit." I'm like,
A little bit.
she goes, "You guys need to do A Nightmare Before Christmas." I said, no.
Absolutely
She goes,
not.
She
No.
goes, "So if I join up on your Patreon and I pay the full amount and I suggest a movie, you'll have to do it, right?" I said, "No, I'm still not doing it."
That's part of the reason why I went full tier, man. I'm like,
No, if I will say it. I will say it. If your daughter actually goes and does it, and she wants the Nightmare Before Christmas, we're doing Nightmare Before Christmas. All right, it's a paying customer. It's gonna happen. Sorry, Chuck, you're gonna lose on that one.
And she can't cancel her subscription after 1 month.
No. Full year minimum.
Right.
Wow.
Stay on it.
Absolutely.
No, I was thinking next year we should do something really fun like Gremlins.
Oh,
Or like
I'm so excited for Gremlins 3.
oh yeah, right? Oh yeah.
I didn't
about-
watch the other thing, the
How about
Legend
Die
of the
Hard?
Mogwai or
How
whatever.
about
but
Die Hard with a Vengeance?
we haven't done that.
Or we could do Lethal Weapon. That takes place at Christmas.
Die
One of
Hard
them,
with a
the
Vengeance
first
isn't
one?
a Christmas
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
I know.
No,
Yeah,
no.
that's
Die,
what I'm
Die
saying.
Hard
No,
with a
he's talking about
Vengeance
he's
takes
talking about
place
Lethal
in the
Weapon.
middle of summer. What are you
Ah,
talking
yeah,
about?
Rest of
yeah.
them, summer in the city.
The rest of them do. Another good Christmas movie we could do a good what's a good like not a
Gremlins.
kids
Gremlins.
Gremlins.
The first
Gremlins
Gremlins
is a great Christmas
Yeah.
movie. That's a great
Alright.
Christmas
Good.
movie.
I agree.
I'm thinking of, like,
Gremlins.
Or
We
the
could do
first
that.
or the first Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, it's true.
or Child's Play.
Not Christmas.
That's not a Christmas movie.
Not Christmas at all. None of it's on Christmas.
He
Get
gets the
with the
doll
net,
on
Chuck.
Christmas.
We could do- No,
It's a
that doesn't
I don't-
count.
Of course it does. The first Child's
was his
Play movie
birthday
is
that he got it.
absolutely a Christmas movie.
I don't remember him getting the doll
Remember.
on Christmas. Anyway,
anywho, but today we're doing Die Hard 2.
two.
Two.
Deuce.
Yes.
So-
Dos.
So before we fully get into it, what is everyone's? So just to let you know, Sarah, what we do now is we do a little non-spoiler for a little bit, and that is what goes up on the YouTubes, and then we'll let people know that we get into a spoiler territory. But this is like a 30-year-old movie, so it's spoiler anyways. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. I'm surprised you haven't seen it yet. But we'll just go around. We'll start with Lee this time. What are your general thoughts on Die Hard 2?
So funny thing about Die Hard 2 is I remembered an airport. I remember like the baggage room, which I thought was like a bigger deal because it's all I really remembered, and a church, and obviously William Sadler playing the main bad guy, which anybody who's seen Bill and Ted know him as Death. He was which he did like what the year after this, I think this was
Yeah.
1990, so it was fight. So I love seeing him. He's great in everything he's in. I think Rocket Man. I think this. It was weird seeing him many years later in Iron Man 3 as the president of the United States. Remember they threw him in the roadie suit?
Oh yeah.
Gosh, yeah, I forgot about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. He's been in a bunch
Wow.
of stuff. But Rocket Man was one that sticks out the most. But the movie, when you compare it to Die Hard 1 and Die Hard with a Vengeance, and for me, Live Free or Die Hard, which I still think is definitely not the worst of them. Good Day to Die Hard, hands down, was the worst one. It's very forgettable, Die Hard 2, compared to the others. Even though watching it again, I'm just like, oh man, that was so cool. Oh, these are some really good parts. But when I watched it again, I'm like, oh yeah, I thought it was many years since I've watched this the last time. But watching it again, I'm just like, oh no, I probably watched this like a couple years ago. You know, it's just like the things that pop up. I'm like, oh yeah, it was good. It's just compared to the others, it didn't stand out like anything above and beyond. Really cool scenes, really great parts, some ridiculous stuff that happened, some really out there things that don't make any sense, because without giving too many spoilers, I will tell you that it does not take 27 seconds for a grenade to go off after the pin's
Oh my
pulled.
gosh,
But yet-
yes.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that going on in this
There's a
movie that we'll
lot.
get. There's a lot of that nonsense that
Yeah.
happens in this movie that we'll get into. It's wild.
But we literally just counted before we started our conversation tonight. I'm like, ready? 1, 2. We got up to 27 seconds before
Yeah.
anything happened. And we're like, that is unrealistic unless they put longer fuses on the grenades, which for what they were doing here, that does not make sense that they would lengthen the fuses. So anyway, rewatching it, I do like this movie. I do like it. I like the ridiculousness of it. I think it falls right in line with the first one. The fact that they did it like a year later on the next Christmas is kind of strange, because it makes me think this sounds like a Christmas movie. So when they did that, did the first 2 on Christmas and the next one's in the summer, and it's like never again on Christmas, unless Good Day to Die Hard was on Christmas. I don't remember. I know it was snowing, but that was like out in
Was
Russia. It was
It
in
was
Russia.
also like
It's always
what,
snowing
5?
in Russia.
I mean, 5-6 years later, Vengeance came out.
5-6
so it's
years later.
96.
Oh, it's with a Vengeance. Yeah,
Yeah, 96, 97, somewhere in there is when
Yeah.
with the Vengeance. You're
But-
talking about some time had gone by. Yeah.
True, but here's the thing: you do a movie, and then you do the next movie that takes place the same time. It makes you feel like they're gonna keep following along. It's like every Christmas something weird happens, but then they change it, and you're like, oh, all right, they're not following the same formula. They did this again. I think we brought up before a few times with Halloween. First two Halloween movies are about Michael Myers. When they tried to deviate and change the story and talk about some Halloween masks that were killing people when they watched it in front of a TV, everyone's like, what is this movie? This is
but
not
this
Michael
isn't
Myers.
a Christmas movie. It's a Bruce Willis movie.
Right. But my point is, it threw people off. When you watch Terminator Salvation and there's no time travel in it, people are like, what is it? Where's the time travel? It's like, you've been screaming that you want to see the war forever. We gave you the war and you don't like that. It's like, the thing is, if you start going in a certain path, in a certain pattern for so long, once you deviate, people are going to get very confused. And I think that's kind of an issue that happened here with the Die Hard movies, making the first two on Christmas and then never again. Kind of throws people off a bit.
Right.
So that's my only thing I'd say about it.
All right. Sarah, quick 2-3 minutes on your thoughts on the movie.
Yeah,
Spoiler
so
free.
like I said, I watched this last year because I had watched Die Hard the night before, and so I thought I'd go on to Die Hard 2. And before that, I had not seen it in at least like a decade. So I barely remembered anything about it. Likely, I remembered there was an airport. I remembered his wife was stuck on a plane, and I remember the grenade scene, and stuff. And I think that was pretty much it. And upon rewatching it, I thought this was like so convoluted. Like the first one was, fairly simplistic. Terrorists take over a building. He tries several different things to stop them as he's hiding and, attacking them. This one seemed like it was all over the place with different subplots and, like this twist at the end and, like so many different things happening. I was having a little trouble kind of keeping up with some of it. And then the fact that, I remembered that Rennie Harlan directed it, which is like, oh, let's crank Michael Bay up to 11 if he was from Finland, so yeah. But I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. There was a lot that felt extremely contrived and straight up silly, but there was also some entertaining cameos in there, and it's always entertaining to see William Atherton play a jerk again. I don't think he ever played a nice guy ever.
No.
Yeah, no. I always remember him being...
He got a little kooky at the end of Biodome.
Little kooky.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I think he just spent the entirety of the 80s playing a massive butthead.
Ghostbusters, Real Genius.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
But he was good at it, so
yes, he was.
Gotta give him that.
Will, your thoughts?
So, unlikely, I think this is the worst of the Die Hard movies easily. For a lot of the reasons that Sarah said. I think this is overly contrived. I think there's a lot going on in this movie for such a short runtime. It tried to give you everything that, like, a sequel should be. They're putting Bruce Willis in the exact same scenario, only they're taking him out of the tower and putting him in an airport. There was a lot of things in this movie that really didn't need to happen. Like Lee said earlier, there's a lot of timing issues, let's just say. There's a lot of that going on here. I'm not going to get into it all right now. I think one of the biggest problems that I have is just it's supposed to be Die Hard, but they didn't spend the money. Like, it felt like the budget wasn't there to do this movie, and there are reasons why. I don't fully understand the motivations in the bad guys trying to get, like, the drug lord out and free. It seemed really weird and kind of all over the place that they were just trying to pigeonhole the story in there, and it doesn't work on so many different levels. At least with the other Die Hard movies, the last two that came out that I'm speaking, I'm not even going to pretend like I know their names. At least with those two movies, they were action movies. They were dumb action movies, and it was just Bruce Willis being an action hero, and there was nothing really else going on, and you didn't need to have a whole lot of information going into them. Here, they try to give you a lot of backstory. They try to make things make sense. They try to give the terrorists some type of motivation, and it just kind of falls flat for me. That's my thoughts. And of course, I mean, Bruce Willis has to be the hero, but there are things that he does that I don't understand. You could tell 100% that this movie was made before 9/11 because there's absolutely no way any of this would ever happen. Flash a badge and you're allowed to go into the back with no problem. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And like one of you said earlier, you know, I forgot that you were allowed to bring wrapped up presents and everything else through an airport, or a taser, or a gun. You can have shootouts in the back of an airport and nobody comes running. They send 2 cops to be like, what's going on? It's so the times of this movie shows on top of all that as well. I'll get into more of it, but those are just, yeah, this movie aged like milk for me. I don't like it. I don't think I'll ever watch this movie again, to be honest. It's bad. I don't think it's good at all.
Okay, so
Chuck?
Will hates it. Will hates it.
I didn't say I hated it, but yeah, it comes off like I hate it. Okay, fine.
Out of all of them, he doesn't like it. Sarah Lee. Wait a minute. Sarah Ann Lee. Not Sarah Lee.
No.
Sarah and Lee are kind of like, it's not the best, but it's not the worst either. And I enjoy it.
Okay.
I liked it.
Of course you do.
Of course you do.
I think I agree that there's a lot of stuff that is, the timing is way off. There's one part specifically that I pointed out to Lee. I was like, how does this make sense? I'll bring it up in a little bit. There is a lot of stuff. How is an LA cop getting around and all this stuff?
Yes.
How is he the only one that knows everything that's going on? But other than that, to me, it's your regular action flick. He gets hurt. He gets the crap beat out of him. He gets bloody. He gets messed up, and he wins.
Yeah.
And I think he says the line in the movie, why does this happened to me last year? You know, the same thing every year type thing, you know.
Why does the same shish happen to the same guy twice? That's the line.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and it sets up the movie perfect, and I enjoy it. I when it comes to action movies like this, I look beyond the stupidity of the things that happen, because in 99% of action movies, the majority of things that happen would never happen at all anywhere else. So I go beyond that, even in movies like this.
When you have a movie
James
like
Bond movie, he walks away clean every time in every James Bond movie. So at least he walks away, like in this movie at the very end, like his neck is like dripping with blood. It's like covered. Like,
Well, that's
a little too much.
That's the thing I enjoy about the Die Hard movies, is that he gets his butt handed to him throughout it. It's not like
Yeah.
he goes through and like, I mean,
Sean
kinda
Connery
Jack
does not
Sparrows
have a
himself
hair
through
out
it.
of place at the end of a lot of those 007 movies, and here Bruce Willis
No.
is a bloody mess.
Every time.
No, actually,
Every
it might
time.
be only a hair out of place with Sean Connery, and that's it. That's the thing. It's just that. You know, you see it and you're like, oh, look, he's got bangs suddenly. And that's about it. But here, like, he comes out and he's a wreck. He's shot up. He's cut up. He's, you know, whatever. But yeah, that's what I appreciate about the Die Hard movies, is this guy, although he's like really good at being a cop and just walks himself in all these situations and can't just walk away, he gets his butt handed to himself. And I would rather see that than somebody just walk in with a machine gun and just win. You know, I don't want to see Steven Seagal walking in and just like snapping necks, and that's
Right.
that's all she wrote.
Commando.
I was watching a video earlier today, this morning, about how he was the worst SNL host, and they wanted to like get rid of him and have somebody else. It was the only time they ever considered not having a host for a week, because they were so fed up with him. Because
Steven Seagal?
yeah, because he was not willing to play the game and be a part of everything. He refused to let them make fun of him, which is what everybody does when they go onto SNL, is they allow themselves to be made fun of.
Right.
He refused, and all he wanted to do was just beat up everybody. Like, that was his act, is that he beat up all the characters on SNL, even the Richmeister, like threw him out a window. Like, it was ridiculous. Anyway, that's my issue with a lot of action films. They're dumb like that. We've got Chuck Norris, who's just like takes everybody out. Nothing against Chuck Norris, but that's the type of action film it is. You know,
With a roundhouse kick.
Ah,
type of
well
that's
played.
that's the type of TV show that it was. Walker Texas Ranger.
Oh yeah.
Just that
Yeah.
every episode was the same thing. Roundhouse kick,
Same
roll
roundhouse.
credits, the end.
Roundhouse kick. Yep.
But I like in this where like I always compare it to like Jack Sparrow, where he just kind of like falls into something and it works out for him somehow, and you're like, how did that work? With the situations in this where John McClane just happens to fall into, like, that would never happen.
John
It's just that
McClane
he
is
did
much more
something.
competent than Jack Sparrow. Let's come on. That's not
Absolutely
even a
is.
fair
well, Jack Sparrow,
comparison.
I know. I'm just saying, like, in
John McClane's apparently much more competent than anybody in these
Yes.
movies,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
including the FBI and the entire police force.
but
I think that's one of my main
Winslow
problems.
was-
I think that's one of my
Winslow
main
was
problems
pretty
with this
competent,
one is this movie is sandwiched in between two very well written, acted, and just directed action movies. This one feels so odd compared to, the original and With a Vengeance. It just something, I don't know. That should whatever.
Whatever. Well, I think we've gone long enough.
Have we?
So now we're
right,
gonna
good night.
yeah. Have a great one, everyone.
Bye.
No, at this point in time, we're gonna switch right over to spoiler territory. So if you want to catch the rest of what we're talking about, obviously on audio form, it is 100% free. But if you want to catch the rest of the conversation in video form, find us on Patreon. Search us up at Black and White Reviews. See you guys there. So